I met Ethan on a rainy Tuesday at a train station. He stood beside me, shaking water from his coat, holding coffee in one hand. He looked like someone who had survived something difficult, and that caught my attention. He smiled at me as if he already knew me and said something about the weather. We talked for 10 minutes, but it felt like 10 seconds. When my train arrived, he asked if he could call me. I gave him my number without thinking twice. It was the first time in a long while I felt truly awake. I was 27, working in an office that handled building contracts. My life was quiet and predictable. My last relationship had ended badly, and I had promised myself not to fall too fast again. But Ethan seemed different. We met for dinner the next weekend. He was funny and thoughtful. He asked about my life, my family, my dreams, and he actually listened. By our third date, he was picking me up from work. By the fifth, we were holding hands in public. My friends said it was too fast, but I brushed off their warnings. I thought I knew better. After 6 weeks, he asked me to marry him. We were sitting on a park bench sharing takeaway noodles when he looked at me and said he had never felt something so right. My head said no, but my heart was tired of being careful. I whispered, okay. We married 3 months later in a quiet registry office. I wore a simple blue dress, and he wore a grey suit. He kissed me gently and whispered that I would not regret this. That sentence stayed with me longer than the kiss. At first, marriage felt wonderful. He made coffee in the morning, called me during the day, and kissed my forehead before bed. I moved into his modern apartment on the edge of the city. It had cold walls and expensive furniture that never felt quite like home. Slowly, small things began to feel wrong. He was always on his phone, but never let me see the screen. He started working late constantly, even on Sundays. When I asked him to join dinner with my sister, he asked why we needed to see my family again, since we were already married. His smile no longer reached his eyes. One night, I woke at 3 in the morning to find the bed empty. Ethan was sitting in the dark living room with his phone. When he saw me, he quickly put it down and said he could not sleep. I went back to bed, feeling uneasy. The next morning, when I asked if he was okay, he raised his voice for the first time and told me I was overthinking things. After that, everything changed faster. We ate dinner in silence. When I tried to talk, he said I was too emotional. I realized I had married someone I barely knew. A few weeks later, while cleaning the spare room, I found a small black bag behind some boxes. Inside were papers, contracts, and a photo of Ethan with a woman and 2 children, all smiling. The photo looked recent. My hands went cold. That night when he came home, I told him we needed to talk. When I mentioned the bag, his face froze. He walked to the kitchen, poured water, and drank it slowly. Then, without looking at me, he said I was not supposed to find that. There was no apology, just calm acceptance. I asked who she was. He said she was someone he used to care about. When I asked if he had children, he simply nodded. He did not think it mattered anymore. I packed a bag and went to stay with my friend Sarah. I needed space to think. Ethan did not call for 3 days. When I finally texted him, his reply was cold and brief. After 5 days, I returned to collect more clothes. That is when I found a second phone on the nightstand with the same woman as the wallpaper. I took my things and left. The next day I called Ethan and we met at a cafe. I asked him directly who she was. He looked out the window and said she was his wife. He claimed he was trying to leave her, but it was complicated. He had married me while still married to someone else. She did not even know I existed. When I stood up to leave, he said he cared about me. I told him that respect mattered more than care. I found a small one-bedroom flat with old wooden floors and a window that faced the morning sun. It was mine, truly mine. Slowly, I began to heal. I started sleeping better, cooking for myself, and taking long walks. I saw a counselor who helped me understand that my mistake did not make me weak, it made me human. One day I saw Ethan on the street with the woman from the photo. He did not see me. I turned and walked away feeling no anger, only distance. Spring arrived quietly. I bought a small plant with tiny white flowers called Baby S Breath and placed it on my window ledge. At work, a new team member named Daniel joined us. He had kind eyes and quiet confidence. We began having lunch together and talking easily. He never pushed or asked too much. He respected my silence. One Friday, he brought me coffee without asking, saying I looked tired. It became a quiet pattern between us, simple and gentle. On rainy evenings, Daniel and I sat on my couch drinking tea. I told him everything about Ethan, the fast wedding, the lies, the hidden family. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he simply said I was not alone. I wrote a letter to Ethan that I never sent, then deleted it. I realized I was no longer angry. I just did not look back anymore. More weeks passed. Daniel helped me move a new green chair into my flat. We laughed as we struggled through the door. That evening, as he was leaving, he turned and said he was not in a rush, that we could take all the time I needed. I smiled and told him that was all I wanted. That night, I stood by my window looking at the stars. I touched the leaves of my plant gently and whispered that it was growing. So was I had married too soon and trusted too quickly, but I had not lost myself. I found her again, bit by bit, day by day, and this time I would never forget who I was.